Hey everyone, welcome back to Small Batch Devs. My name is Austin.
And I'm Elliot. Today we're going to be covering the Firebase Emulator suite along with the new Firebase Emulator UI.
And make sure you stick around to the end because we will be installing the emulator and also running through a quick demo just to get you a little familiar with the UI. Without any further ado, let's jump into it. So unfortunately our audio got a little messed up, so I'm just going to be voicing over what we said for the next 45 seconds or so. You can think of the Firebase emulator as a local instance of Firebase running on your computer. This means you'll be able to simulate things such as Firestore, the Realtime Database, hosting, Google Cloud PubSub, Cloud Functions, and of course you'll be able to do all of this through the Emulator UI. The Emulator UI is a brand new and fantastic way to view your data and logs on your local computer. And as an added bonus, it looks very similar to the online version of the Firebase console, so if you're already familiar with that, this should be pretty simple to get familiar with. One thing to know before you jump into the emulator suite is that we can't yet simulate Firebase's authentication or cloud storage, but I'm sure Google is working on it.
So why would I want to use the emulator suite as opposed to the Firebase console?
Great question, Elliot. The Firebase emulator has two big advantages to it. The first being that you won't get any monetary charges just for using the emulator because you're just testing it locally.
And this really comes into play if you're reading or writing large amounts of data from Firebase at a time, or if you happen to accidentally write a loop that writes a ton of data and blows through your free quota on Firebase.
The second big advantage is it helps speed up development. What we mean by this is for things like cloud functions where when you deploy, it could take a few minutes to actually deploy that function up to Firebase. With the local emulator, it's much quicker, so you can check out your logs, check out your cloud function, ensure that it's working much quicker.
Nice.
Yeah.
So to get started with your Firebase Emulator suite, you'll want to upgrade your Firebase to the latest version, but more importantly, upgrade your Firebase tools, also known as the Firebase CLI, to at least version 8.4. And to do this, you can run this npm install command right here. And if that doesn't work, you might just have to go into your Package.json file and manually bump that version up.
So let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial for the Firebase emulator. If you're starting a brand new project, you can use the firebase init command, and you'll be able to select the emulator there.
Yeah, but we're starting with an existing project, so we're going to use Firebase init emulators to just skip to the emulators installation part. So you'll be asked a series of questions on which ports you want to use and etc. And you can see Firebase is recognizing that we are in an existing Firebase project, so we're going to continue on here. And we're going to go ahead and select all of the emulators to set up because why not? And you can see these are all the defaults for all the ports, and you can set these to different things if you want to, but we're just going to accept the defaults for now. And there we go. We're done.
Once you've initialized the emulator in your Angular application, the next thing you're going to want to do is create an emulator environment file. We're here in our environment.emulator.ts file, and there's a few things we should definitely point out. The first being the stage property. We're going to be pointing to this in the App.module file a little bit later, so look out for that. The next being our database URL. This points specifically to the local version of our real-time database that we're going to be running. You can see on the end there we have our project ID as our namespace. And that's pretty much it in this file. You obviously want to fill out the rest of the properties that we have blank with your project's IDs and tokens and domains and whatnot. But this isn't public information, so we don't have them in the file currently.
So the other thing you'll want to update in your project is your App.module.ts file. And the reason we have to make an update to this file as well is because we're using Angular Fire. And so you can see we've singled out the providers array here, and even further down, we've added a new object to override some of the default settings for Angular Fire's Firestore specifically. So you can see we're providing the settings, and we'll scroll up to the imports in a second to show you exactly where this is coming from, but it's from the Firestore settings. And we're also using that new environment.stage property we added in our environment files to tell if we're loading the emulator or not. And if we are, we want to switch our Firestore host to localhost 8080 because that is the local port that our Firestore emulator is going to be running on. So now if we take a look at the import for this settings, you can see it's coming from Angular Firestore, and these are the Firestore specific settings.
Another configuration I'm going to show you real quick is in our Angular.json file. This is our build configuration, so we have an emulator build configuration, and the main thing here is that we are swapping out our environment.ts file with our emulator environment file.
So the last config we need to update is in the Package.json, and that's just going to be adding some custom commands so that our developer quality of life is a little bit easier, and we don't have to remember these complicated commands. So you can see we've got two new ones called Emulate and Quick Emulate. The first one is going to be building the project through Angular with the emulator configuration flag, and that's just going to use our emulator environment file in place of our development or production files. And then after that, it's going to start the Firebase emulators with Firebase emulators:start. And the quick emulate is just to use if you already have your Angular project built and you have a dist folder ready to serve. And the only caveat here is that you do need to restart your build every time you make a change. So every time you make a change, you'll need to rerun this emulate command so it builds a fresh copy of your dist files.
So now it's finally time to demo the emulator. We're here in our terminal and we're going to start up the emulator using the npm run emulate command. And it will take a few seconds, but it will be good.
Here we go. Okay, so you can now see we're finished building our Angular project, and the Firebase console has spit out some useful information on which ports our emulators are running on. So now if we open up our browser to localhost 4000, we should see the Firebase UI, and boy does it look good.
Looks real nice.
So you can see on each of these cards that the emulators have their own ports they're running on, and we can also click on Go to Emulator to view the databases. As you can see, we have no data, but if we do click on the Firebase hosting link, it should open up our website in a new tab. And there we go. Our website's empty because we have no data in our local databases, but we can try to create some right now.
We just quickly created a new blog post entry, and you can see it is now here published on our local implementation of our website. And if we go to the emulator suite, let's go check out Firestore real quick. And as you can see, we have a bunch of data in here now, and it looks very similar to the web online version of Firebase. So yeah, do with this information as you wish.
Go for it. One quick thing to note is that if you do restart this emulator, your data will be gone. There are handy commands for exporting and importing data with the emulators, but just keep that in mind. So today we covered the Firebase Emulator suite along with the brand new Emulator UI. We also showed you how to integrate it into your Angular application and a quick demo on how to use it, how to get around, as well as putting some data in this emulator.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also maybe subscribe to us on social media. That includes Twitter, Facebook, and
Instagram.
And
YouTube.
And YouTube. That's not social media. Anyways, thanks guys.
Peace.
From the top.
From the top.
So now it is...
Too excited. It's getting hot. So today we covered the Angular Firebase... Nope.